we'll record. Hello, this is Adam Raymond. I own Empire Independent Insurance Agency coming to you from the world headquarters in Riverside, California. And by the way, we're licensed in more states than just California. We can take care of your insurance needs in Oregon, Washington, Idaho, Arizona, and Texas. So if you're licensed, have friends or family in any of those great states, I can help you there too. And today, I'm pleased and privileged to have a good, close personal friend of mine, Mr. Christopher Shumate, who resides and practices law in Redlands, California. Chris, how's it going?
It's going well. Adam, thanks for having me on the on today.
You're welcome, sir. Chris, tell us a little bit about you.
Yeah, so I'm an estate planning and probate attorney. I have been in practice since 2005, so almost 20 years.
Hmm.
And I've been in the estates, trust, and probate arena since 2008. And so that's pretty much all I do. I do estate planning, probate, trust administration, dealing with death and dying.
Oof. Wow, that sounds heavy.
Yeah. Well, sometimes it can be, but it's also very satisfying because you're dealing with families, helping families during times of crisis, sometimes helping them through a chaotic situation and bringing some order to it.
Nice. Nice. So, exactly what is a living trust? What is a will? And how do they work together?
Yeah. So let me start with a will. So a will is basically just a document that says I want my assets to be distributed to these people at my death, and I want these people to be in charge of my estate. Um, a trust is the main purpose of a trust is to help you avoid probate, and so you want to think of a trust as kind of like a bucket. You know, you create this bucket, you put all of your assets into this bucket, and then if you die, the bucket doesn't die. It's just new people come alongside to manage it and distribute it according to whatever the trust says. So that's how a trust works, and that's how it helps you avoid probate. A will does not help you avoid probate. It gives you some control as far as who's in charge and where your assets go, but having just a will still subject you to probate.
Okay. Okay. Um, which part of the document is where I can tell the courts and those that live after me who's going to raise my kids? Where do I appoint the guardian?
Yeah, so whenever you do a trust, you also do wills, but the wills, when you have a trust in place, function a little bit differently. And so the wills are backup documents. And so all the will says is that basically, if there's something that I accidentally left outside the trust, I want it to be put back into the trust. They call it a pour over will, but it is your will where you name guardians. And so yeah, so anybody really that has minor children, even if they don't have any assets to their name at all, should at the very least set up a will so that they can name guardians.
Yeah, yeah. I've heard it said that without a will naming a guardian, the court appoints
Yeah, so the court's going to
who's
be,
going to raise my children, and they may
yes,
not have the same values as I do.
exactly. So, I mean, a judge is just going to be looking around, trying to find the person that is most closely related and has the financial means in order to raise your children. And so a judge isn't going to necessarily take into account what values you have, what type of environment you want your kids to be raised in. So that's why it's really important to make sure that you have a will and make sure that you appoint guardians in the will.
Yeah, good, good. So then, living trust and probate. What is probate, and why do I want to avoid it?
Yeah, so unfortunately in California, we have an incredibly bureaucratic um, probate system. And so the main problems with probate is that it usually takes about a year and a half to 2 years, and it costs about $15,000 to $40,000 for most modest size estates. And so most people don't want to require that for their children or their beneficiaries. Most people don't want to require that they have to go through this long, expensive court process. They'd rather it be dealt with without the courts being involved. And so that's why setting up a trust is a lot more beneficial.
Mm. Yeah, you had said a minute ago how fulfilling it is to step in and work with the family in this time of great loss and crisis. Can you tell me more about that?
Well, whenever you're dealing with the death of a parent, I mean, it is an incredibly, most people underestimate um, just, how, um, what a shock to the system that is and how long the grief lasts for that.
Mm.
And so if you compound those issues with the fact that you may not have put anything in place, no will, no trust, and so you just have basically chaos. Mom and dad might have owned a home, they might have had some bank accounts. Nobody knows where the bank accounts are. There's maybe some investments. Nobody was willing to talk to us. And so yeah, there can be a lot of chaos, especially if there's no will or trust involved. And
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
it's just kind of a night and day difference if they already have a plan set up in place, like a trust.
Mm. And I can attest to that, bro, because I've lost both my mom and dad, and we had some great conversations about what steps they were going to take and things that needed to be done, and lost both of them, and nothing was in place.
Mm,
And I was like, I was like, I can't even grieve the loss of my parent because I'm so embroiled in all this other red tape.
exactly.
Bro, it was no fun. It was no
Yeah.
fun. So I highly believe in you and what you do in your services. So um
Thank you.
yeah, for sure. What are some of the common misconceptions about living trusts?
Yeah. So a couple things. I kind of already mentioned the issue about, a lot of people think that setting up a will is sufficient, and that's not true. A will doesn't help you avoid probate. I would say the maybe another myth that I hear a lot. This doesn't necessarily have to do with trust, but a misconception is that if my assets have to go through probate, then the state's going to take everything. The state doesn't take everything. I hear that a lot, but the reason that probate is awful and something to be avoided is because there have been a lot of abuses of the probate process over the decades. And so the legislature and the courts have added in all of this red tape, all of this bureaucracy in order to jump through all of these hoops in order to allow a person to get to where they want to be able to sell the home, to be able to marshal the assets, pay off the debts, things
Mm.
like that. And so it's extremely technical and hard to navigate on your own. So the costs involved are just the normal court costs, and then the fees involved are the attorney's fees and the accounting fees. Sometimes people try to go on their own, but my experience is people that are not represented by an attorney in the probate process, it normally stretches out, a year and a half process to like 5 years.
Oh no.
So you really need to have an attorney if you have to go
Yeah.
through probate.
Wow. Yeah, for sure. And then that is also part of the services you offer. You'll help administer, the decisions built into the will and the trust, and help the family navigate and negotiate these things after a loss.
Yeah. And one other misconception I just wanted to mention, this relates to you, Adam,
Mm.
is that a lot of people think that setting up a trust will help them avoid, I'm sorry, will help them to have asset protection, meaning if I get sued, I'm not going to be liable because I have a trust in place. It'll help me protect my assets. And that's not true. Most people set up what's called a revocable living trust, which means it's amendable, changeable. all the way up until the second spouse dies. And so from an asset protection perspective, it's nothing. It's the same as if you didn't have a trust in place. The purpose of a trust is to avoid probate, not to protect your assets. And so what I tell people, kind of day in and day out is that, if you're worried about asset protection, the cheapest and some of the best asset protection is just to, hire somebody like you, get a good automobile policy, get a good property insurance policy, and then get a good umbrella policy, and that goes a long way to
Yeah.
protecting you in case you get sued.
Yeah, well said. That umbrella in particular is about the best investment, the best value of any policy I sell. It's like 1 million or more liability insurance over your autos. And if you have youthful drivers, you want to consider that. Your homes, your landlord policies, your vacant land, your boats, your sea-doos, I've paid claims because somebody on a boat ran over a swimmer
Yeah.
and everything he owned came on the table. So yeah, for sure. Good, great point. I appreciate you bringing that up. I would dare say that's all the time we have right now. I
Yeah.
appreciate your friendship, your expertise, your attention to detail, and thanks for talking to me about all these very valuable issues today, Chris.
Yeah. Thanks for having me, Adam. It's been great.
Yeah. All right, bro. See you later.
All right.